You're listening to Whispers of War.
Hello everyone and welcome to show 34 of Whispers of War. I'm your host Sil. Let's jump into how was my week in World of Warcraft. And actually I managed to do quite a few things. I actually started playing again after work, which I haven't done in a long time. Most of the time I just do it in the weekends. Not this week. I've done quite a lot because my weekend with Easter is kind of busy, and not just because there's lots of chocolate to be eaten. So I actually decided to do everything on my rogue that I could do, and I said last week that I really wanted to know, okay, so what do I do now with trying to find a knife waifu and or Zalafoth as she's named, I think that's her name, and Zalathath, I don't know, that knife, and N'Zoth, and I actually looked it up. I just quickly look it up, and then I saw it actually starts with a quest, a world quest about the Nagas invading. So I looked on my map and I saw it was actually in Colteris that it happened, and I thought, okay, well, let's just do it now. So the item dropped after the first mob. I think it just drops from the first mob. So picked that up and started the whole quest line, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to like spoil things in the sense of, you know what's going to happen, what you have to do eventually. But if you don't want to know anything, I would just tune out for a few minutes now, because I am going to talk about it. And she has you running around to all different areas on the different continents, and I actually quite like that. I like the banter that you have with the knife, who turns into a void elf. Very, I think, interesting that she has that form. And then, of course, at a certain point, she brings you to, I think it's the Crucible. Is it the Crucible? I think so. I wasn't paying too much attention at that point in time. I just wanted to see N'Zoth. And of course, you get betrayed by her, and you're the one who helps set him free, or something similar to that extent. And that's it. And he blesses you, and you get a little eye thing on your head, and you could see other people with it. Now, I have to admit, when I went back to Zuldazar, I didn't see anyone with that thing on their head. So I did get another quest from Queen Talanji, as she is now, that you have to get yourself cleansed from the priest. I haven't really done that yet, because I'm just a little bit like, no, kind of like having this thing on my head. N'Zoth thinks I'm special, so why would I want to cleanse it? But I will do it eventually, because it is a quest and it has to be done. Other than that, I also had to go back after that whole setting the bait or getting the bait quest that you had to do on the war campaign after you set Derek Proudmoore free with Bane and Zelik. You had to then do a mission, and it took quite a lot of resources. I think 400 or something. So I didn't really think about it anymore. But once it's actually completed, you get another follow-up quest. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll jump into that. And it's basically Sylvanas confronting all the war leaders and saying there is or the horde leaders of the war campaign. And she basically says there's a traitor in our midst. And she actually points at the Forsaken first. And then Bane jumps in and said, no, it was me. I did it because, the horde has a sickness, blah, blah, blah. And it's not honorable. And then Nathanos kills the Forsaken anyway, and Bane gets taken prisoner. I guess like a prisoner of war or something like that. And I found that really interesting, because, my character did choose the whole Saurfang route. And then afterwards, when everyone's taken away, you still see some of the horde leaders there, and that's the interesting part, because I thought, you know what, I'm just going to see if I can click on them, because I'm sure that they have something to say. And actually, when you click on the on the leaders, I don't want to know why I'm calling them war leaders, probably because it's part of the war campaign. They all have something to say, and I swear to God, the only person who really is against what Bane did was the Magar orc leader. But she's always seemed a bit like fucking extreme to me anyway. But yeah, she's all like, you know, whatever the war chief says goes. So to betray her, that's really bad. Everyone else is a little bit like, that's not good. I think, of course, Gallywix has his own agenda because it's all about profit. But everyone else is a little bit like, this is not good what Sylvanas is doing. Bane is really important. All those things. You can see that they're a bit shaken by the whole situation, that this is happening inside their ranks. Now, of course, again, spoiler, if you haven't heard anything about it, I'm just giving you a big warning. You know, it was data mined that Thrall is coming back, and people have already found out that he's going to be helping us, I would assume, to save Bane from who's being held captive underneath Orgrimmar. And this is what I think will happen, and I think a lot of people will think the same thing. I think Helia is either maybe possessing Sylvanas, or there is a deal or something going on there with Helia and Sylvanas. I don't know if she will be redeemed, or maybe she will just I don't know, because the Forsaken still need a leader, and I can't really see any other leader standing up unless it will be like the Lich King, which would be a bit weird. But you know what I mean? You can't just get a leader rid of, because then you get the whole troll situation. Because the trolls still don't have a real, not class leader, but a race leader after Vol'jin died. There's no one really there that you can say, oh yeah, that's definitely the leader of the trolls. I'm not talking about the Zandalari, but the normal Darkspear trolls. And if you would do the same for the Forsaken, then they don't have anyone. I can't really see anyone else standing in her spot, if I'm honest. So yeah, I'm a little bit like, I don't know if they will kill Sylvanas off, but I think she will be no longer the war chief anymore, and I have a suspicion that we'll just get Thrall back, because maybe that is what the Horde needs again, more like a war leader or faction leader like him. I need to get this war leader stuff out of my head, guys. This is really bad. It's all about the wars. So that's really how it all went. I have to admit, I do find the war campaign on the Horde side really interesting. Fair enough, I haven't done that much on the Alliance side because I'm really blocked behind that nice little reputation wall. But I'm getting there. I haven't really done much on my Druid because I really just wanted to finish all those quest lines for my Rogue on the Horde side, because she's much further. Also because, you know, 8.2 flying is coming out, and I want to make sure that I'm as up to date as I can be. So that's really how it's been. I did dabble a little bit around on some alts just in between, you know, when I got a little bit like, okay, I don't want to do anything anymore. That, I'll swear to God, man, that Stormsong Valley quest chains are just, it's lovely. I love the area, but it's never ending. It really is never ending. All of a sudden just things pop up, and I just want to have that all done now. I'm like, no, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Probably because I don't really want to do it on the Druid anymore. I just want to do it on my Shaman. I want to make my Shaman my Alliance main, if that makes sense. And I'm so far now with my Druid that I'm like, well, I don't want to redo all of this with my Shami just to, you know, do it all again. I just might as well just finish it now with the Druid. But yeah, I'm not having a great time. I don't know what it is, because I do like the gameplay of Druid a lot, but there are certain things I just don't like, and I know all the resters are going to kill me, I just don't like healing on the Druid anymore. I just don't enjoy it. So I am going to just finish off Stormsong Valley with the Druid, and then probably do everything on my Shaman if I feel up for it. But yeah, I don't know. I want to go back on healing with my my Shaman, because I did like playing her back in the day. But we shall see. It's a lot to think about and a lot to do, considering we're getting reputations and all those things for flying, for unlocking races, and my druid is the one that is the furthest now. So, you know, I don't really feel like I have a choice. Yeah, I still, even though we share achievements, I still feel like the reputation stuff, that is still a difficult one for me. I wish it would just be like, hey, this is the higher reputation on this character, it will all just transfer to every other alt that you play on that faction, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So yeah, that's really what I've been doing. A lot of questing, a lot of stories, and I am absolutely enjoying the hell out of it. I'm happy in World of Warcraft still. I'm really enjoying myself, and I just want to see more. I can't wait for 8.2. And as someone that I talked to about all the new patch stuff that has been revealed by Blizzard, which is going to be, you know, this interview is going to be very heavy on 8.2. If you don't want to be spoiled at all, then sorry guys, it is going to happen. I'm also warning everyone, just in case it's not quite clear from the interview, I am taking the format of the post from MMO Champion, because I'm so chaotic and I need some form of show notes, and those were the best ones that I could find, just dot by dot what I found important. So it's just my opinion, things that have been revealed, and I will just talk about that with Grand Nagus and how we feel about everything that's been revealed. There might be certain things like PvP that we glance over because we don't do that much with them. But that's, you know, there's so many YouTubers and podcasters out there that will probably dive into that, so you can listen to that. But this is just our view of 8.2. So enjoy the interview. I'll be back afterwards with all of your tweets, and I will see you on the flip side. And with me today, I'm being joined by another returning guest, and I always love talking to him. It must be his incredibly cool accent. Welcome back, Grand Nagus.
Thank you very much, Sil, for having me back.
Absolutely. You were here on show number 10. I've just pulled it up just to make sure that I have my information all there. And just for everyone who, you know, has just started to listen, who might not recognize your voice, can you tell the people who you are, where they maybe do recognize your voice from all the podcasting that you do?
I don't do that much podcasting. I do my own show, that's Corpse Run Radio, which essentially just has released episode 47.
Wow!
Just 2 minutes before we started this interview. So, but the other podcast that I do is CtrlAltWoW, together with Aprillian and Constructs. We're at episode 611, I think.
Wow.
So, yeah.
How many people can say that they're on so many episodes?
I mean, I can't, because I've only started listening at episode 300. So, but still, the show
That's loads.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably where you would know me from. I Twitch stream a little on the Corpse Run Radio stream page on Twitch. So if you want to come and check me out there, the schedule is up on the Twitch page. And just it's a ever-changing schedule at the moment. I haven't been able to settle down with one because I had some personal issues, but I hope that pretty soon I'll be able to come up with a semi regular schedule. So yeah, that's besides that, I'm a main Forsaken Warlock player in World of Warcraft. I play the occasional Alliance tune as well, a little more in recent weeks because I wanted to see the story and unlock the various allied races. And as everyone that plays the game knows, you need to do a bunch of rep grinding to eventually get to the point where you can unlock them. The latest allied race I unlocked was the other day, 2 or 3 days ago, was the Colterian humans.
Oh, nice.
So the only one that still remains for me to do is the Zandalari trolls, which I must say I haven't been too thrilled with, too anxious with unlocking, because for me there's still that animosity between the Darkspear and the Zandalari, and I've never really gotten over that. And that's another lore thing that I'm not too comfortable with. The Zandalari and the Darkspear going buddy again. That's something where but again, that's a decision that Blizzard made to go that route, and so that's basically me in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, a lot has changed in those weeks, because I think we're about, what would I say, about 20 weeks later now. What has changed in game for you since that last time that we spoke? Are you focusing on something different now? How are you finding the story, where it's been going, especially as, someone who has quite close ties to the Dark Lady? How are you finding all of that? How that has been played out?
It hasn't really that much, and that's what I find interesting. I listened to the Lore Watch podcast earlier today, a couple of episodes, and they had some mighty interesting theories that I don't want to go into too much, but with Sylvanas and who might pull her strings, if there are such things as strings that you would be able to pull with Sylvanas, we really don't know. We think that there might be, and it's kind of, people say that it's most likely the case, but we really don't know. And with the upcoming, and again, these are spoilers, so we have the 8.1.5 reveal of Salatath, the dagger, the former, we have to say now, Shadow Priest dagger. That Sylvanas has got her hands on, apparently. And so we'll see what that results in. The Salatath apparently now coming out of the dagger, the entity that is Salatath, and and all these things, and then the guys from Lore Watch talking about possible connection between Helya's release from Helheim and Sylvanas, where they made a pact, undoubtedly, because we met Sylvanas in Helheim, and she took the lantern. But the question is, what did Sylvanas have to give Helya in exchange for getting the lantern? No one has ever gotten into that aspect.
That will be very interesting.
Yeah, because and I think Matthew Rossi was the one saying that. Could be mistaken, but you guys can go and listen to the episodes of that podcast, which is a really great podcast for lore nerds. Yeah, the thing is, you always think of the most obvious and of the thing that is in your face, and if something is really in your face, you tend to focus on that, and you most often do not see what's left and right. So it was like, in my opinion, a nice scheme of Blizzard to have you focus on the deal part of what Sylvanas got and not what she had to give, because of her continuing role in now BFA. So we'll see what that turns into, and with us knowing from the from one of the quests that you get from island expeditions, that states that apparently that Helia is not dead. So yeah, there's that. Where is she if not in Helheim anymore, and how did she get out?
Exactly.
And there are so many other things that revolve around Sylvanas that are, and I mean, if you go a step further, like they did in the podcast, and say, well, maybe she Helia piggybacked as an entity, as a soul entity in Sylvanas, because Sylvanas doesn't have a soul anymore.
True.
So it might be that Helia's soul somehow went into Sylvanas and shared her body, and
that would be interesting.
Somehow kind of influences Sylvanas' actions, or maybe totally does so. So maybe Sylvanas isn't responsible for her actions. We don't know. But those are like, it's all tinfoil hat stuff. But it's something that would make sense if you look at how irrational and out of character Sylvanas has acted lately. So yeah.
I like those theories. Those are really interesting. That will give it a whole new perspective, really. But yeah, I mean, how are you finding the game at the moment? Are you so, because let's face it, it's one of those I think one of those expansions that a lot of people were really, and I said it to a lot of people who returned, a lot of people were so hyped for, and it seems like the WoW player base has been a bit divided. So you have half of I'm generalizing when I say half, but there's half that still loves it, and the other half is a little bit, either they are not happy with a lot of the changes or where it's going, and they've quit, or they are playing a lot less. Where are you on that scale?
I am not playing as much, but that has other reasons than me not being satisfied with how the game evolves.
Okay.
So I was really happy with seeing Lillian Voss return in the war campaign. She, for me, is she's my second favorite Forsaken character. Her whole story is just awesome, and the way that they spun her the way that she aligned herself with the Horde side again, compared to the Legion, where she was in the Rogue Order Hall, was interesting to see that they really made it not just, oh, I'm here now and don't ask why, but that they really gave it a reason.
Okay.
So yeah. The other thing for me is with regards to the game is the thing where you have to make the choices, especially now with Sylvanas, where if you align yourself with Sylvanas or with Saurfang, but that's something that is really interesting down the road. The other permanent choice I found on a emotional basis way more interesting, and that was on the Alliance side.
Okay.
The naming of the ship.
Okay, how come?
Because they all give their name suggestions at the end, and they say can't remember, and then when who was it? Can't remember. I think Jaina's mother, Catherine Proudmore, said Tiffin's Melody as the last choice, and I said, "Yup, that's it." There is no other choice in for anyone that knows who Tiffin is. For the people that don't know, she's Anduin's mother, and there's just no other choice than to name it Tiffin's Melody, in my opinion, anyway. So yeah, that's just something that and you go, then obviously you go to the harbor, and and first it's christened, then you go to the harbor, and then you present the ship to Anduin, and he asks what's the name, and Jaina says, in my case then Tiffin's Melody, and he, oh, it was like it was. But one thing that I don't get, I don't want to say that, but if the thing is how shall we say, if it's a permanent choice, why can't we have that ship be there account-wide? Why do you have to go through it every time? I mean, you can always obviously go through it and give it a different name every time, but you should have the chance to have it as a permanent thing there, because for one, you can make that permanent for the Colterian humans, because if you go by the timeline, anything that comes as soon as you create your Colterian, you automatically are past the point of giving Anduin the ship, because that's part of the unlocking quest. So And another thing with the ship is it's way too small.
Okay.
For a ship for a king should be, in my opinion, at least as big as the admiral's ship that Jaina raised from the bottom of the sea in the Warbringer cinematic. So yeah, I mean it's way too small. But again, that's a thing that yeah. No, but overall, I really look forward to what's coming next, and 8.2 with the presentation that we got the other day looks interesting. So let's see what we're going to get.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point, because like you said, we had the presentation and my internet cable crapped out on me, so I had to get a new cable before I could do anything on the internet. So I've watched it today, and some things surprised me a little bit. Some things I'm not so surprised with, but I'm happy to see that it happens. Other things I don't really have much of an opinion about just yet, because I've always experienced with a lot of things that they push out that I need to see it in game to actually experience it. It was like, for instance, Azerite gear. When they announced it, it sounded great, but we all know what the state of that is at the moment. So I am, if this sounds familiar to people, we are actually going to look at the notes that are made on MMO Champion, and just follow that order that was on the live stream, just because that makes it easier for my scatterbrain. So this
a question before we start.
Yeah.
What did surprise you?
What surprised me? I think the fact that they are redoing Azerite gear.
Okay.
And I say redoing, but there's that's a very simple way of saying it, but I'm quite surprised with that they are making what I think is quite a drastic change.
Yes, so they are.
That kind of surprised me that they're already doing that, and I can only imagine that they worked overtime on that.
I can tell you something. I am going to tell you something.
Yeah.
I watched Taliesin's live stream last night on Twitch, and he talked about it. And he basically said, he talked to, I can't remember who he said he talked to, but he said, we knew from the get-go that the system of Azerite gear was broken. Mm-hmm. It was just too late to change it. And even if it had been put on the PTR earlier than it has been, it would still have been broken, because the system itself is broken, and we couldn't do anything about it anymore, because we didn't have anything in place. We didn't have anything up our sleeve to put it in its place, to put in its place. And furthermore, Taliesin said that the day that the game launched, basically, they started on the system that we get now with 8.2. So that's how long they've been building that. Mm. So
but you can see, I mean, it's a good thing that they're trying to them pick up things that they weren't happy, and give them credit where credit is due. At least they're trying. So we will see. But like I said, I always feel like it's very difficult to top anything that had to do with the class order hall and the weapons, because that was so unique. What was the thing that surprised you the most? I'm just telling everyone, this is so spoiler heavy, this episode, so if you don't want to know anything about 8.2, I would skip this one and just go to the one next week.
I don't know if it's a surprise, if you can call it a surprise, but I think I was most surprised that we got we get to fly in Nazjatar and in Mechagon. Because for me, and that's something that we didn't, that Taliesin didn't talk about, and that no one has talked about yet. That would mean that the zone that is no flying and will stay no flying is still to come and hasn't been discussed, even hinted at yet.
That would be interesting. I mean, in that regards, I do have some theory crafting. If I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat, I think we are going to get a surprise area that no one really suspected. However, I think because we've been, with the island expeditions, we've been getting so many little hints of, oh look, we need to talk to this person again, and the one that always seems to be gone for a while, and I know I'm such a fangirl and people must be sick of hearing it, but Rathian is nowhere to be seen. Yep. And I'm still very much like, there is, that it's too quiet, like far too quiet around that whole, especially with what's going on with the Void, with corruption, old gods, something that's, I think, very close to his heritage and his roots. Mm-hmm. It just makes me wonder if we're going to all of a sudden get that area that has something to do with him, that they are just getting real quiet, because why would you fly in an area that has dragons or whatever it could be? Mm-hmm. I don't know but that's me. I know I'm a bit of a fangirl, but I'm just very curious to see where that goes, if it's all about tying up loose ends, really.
Again, back to Lore Watch, the 2 episodes that I listened to, one of them, I can't remember which one, hinted at the fact that one of the quest starting items or quests to get from, or however you want to say it, from the island expeditions has to do with Rathian. So if you haven't picked that one up yet, or if you don't know it yet, you probably haven't done enough island expeditions yet.
I have my Black Dragon skill. I just haven't handed it in yet.
Okay.
No, I know that whole questline. So that makes me wonder, if he's being mentioned, but then it's quiet again. Mm-hmm. Why would they do that? For me, it's always that Terralian thing that you saw on your bar at the bottom when your screen was loading, with the whole they haven't been spotted since Outland. I'm like, right, so why are you saying that? And it took like so many expansions before we actually got them in game, but still. Right, so let's start with all the spoilerage for 8.2. Now, story-wise, they said that Sylvanas has learned something, and Horde champions, that would be the players, will go out to sea to see it. And then the Alliance, under the leadership of Jaina, will go and chase Sylvanas and the Horde. And that's when we finally see Ashara. So the sea, I'm having this epic vision in my head when they said on the stream, the sea opens up, swallows our ships, and is giving air to the new zone Nazjatar, which is longer under the sea.
Yeah, much like the Kraken thing in Cataclysm.
Yeah. But, so that would be interesting. I mean, it's cool that we're going there now, and that I want to see what happens when both those two will be confronted with Ashara.
Yeah. Yep. That's the thing where, but I don't think we're going to see Ashara right off the bat. I think maybe she'll pop up as like a talking head thingy and say, "Welcome to my realm," or something like that. Mm-hmm. Something to that effect, and then she'll disappear again for the next couple of weeks until we get to see her in the raid. But yeah,
I hope there's a good balance with that threat, like we had with the Lich King a little bit, that you see him pop up in certain areas and certain quests that you do, and or at least get a hint or something. But with Ashara, I just feel like we mostly need to see her like in the shadows and things like that, and not really, see her. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But at least we're in Nazjatar then, or in the Naga area. So we're going to meet some more races. I mean, it was to be meant, I guess, for more web grinds. So Horde meets the Unshackled, and the Alliance meets the Anchoran. I think one of them are like Murlocs, and what are they? They're like the lobster kind of.
I think one is a collection of species, and the other is one species.
Ah.
Something I don't. I think I remember that from the presentation. I don't know what exactly is which. I would imagine Anchoran sounds like a species name, and Unshackled sounds like a type of gang of unshackled free prisoner bunch, something like that.
Why do I feel Murlocs and things like that? But do you reckon that with these two that we're going to get new allied races, even though they haven't?
We're going to get Giblins, I think. That's what the one was.
Ah, interesting.
So something like that. So yeah. But allied races, again, a thing that Taliesin said yesterday. They didn't talk about it at all. It wasn't mentioned at all at the presentation that they were at in Irvine. So that's probably being kept pretty close to their vests.
I would imagine so. I mean, we've been kind of like getting a lot in one go. I think at the start of this expansion anyway, because we just got the ones from Legion, and then there was already promise of new ones, and we've got those now. I don't know how many we should get in an expansion, if that makes sense. Too many might be too much. If that it's a bit weird way of saying it, but you know what I mean. It might be overkill.
Yep.
Especially because they're all soon to be tied to web grind. And they already said that we will have to start building up the reputation with these factions to get bases and combat allies, which I think is an interesting thing. How did you? Yeah, go ahead.
Especially since they are apparently leveling up to not leveling up in their gear like they've done with the champions before, but they apparently, as far as I've understood, are leveling up in levels up to, I think, max level 30. Mm-hmm. So that's a whole new different take on the combat allies. Remember, we had the what are they called? The bodyguards in the garrison. Then we had the other ones in the order hall. So, but having them level up as levels next to us, it's a whole different take.
Yeah, and especially because I think leveling them up also will help progress the story. Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. That means a little bit of investment there, which I have no issues with at all. At least it feels like you're doing something useful with them to progress. Yes. How do you feel about the fact that we're going to get Elite World Quest bosses and everything around there again, and more world quests in Nazjatar?
It is unavoidable, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Basically, a new area gives us new stuff to do, and apparently Blizzard has focused on the stuff that we are generally putting out now are going to be world quests and daily quests, and we're going to get a emissary for the Nashatar. So that is a thing that I mean, if you want to do it, sure, go ahead. I would rather have something I don't want to do, I choose not to do, and sit and twiddle my thumbs and have nothing to do. So that's always my take. Give me something to do. If I don't want to do it, that's my choice. If I don't have anything to do, that's your choice. But I'd rather have the choice of don't doing it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's really good. It's the same when we got Argus. Some people wanted to do all of that, and other people were just like, nah, I don't want to. And I actually, not that I enjoyed Argus so much, but everyone was questioning there. You got your reputation in the end, and I was fine with it. I was happy that there was something to do, so it was all good with me. Now, in the end, of course, with Nashatar, we'll get Ashara's Eternal Palace, and there's not much we can say about that just yet because they've only revealed a few things. So there will be an underwater boss that snakes in and out of holes. That's going to be interesting.
Yep.
And the one thing I find really interesting in the notes is that they say that the Ashara fight will change the future of Azeroth. Now, call me snarky, but I'm just like, okay, so we're all underwater when this is happening. Oh, does that mean something like tidal wave, things that start to rise up from the bottom that shouldn't have, continents that disappear? Just, is something going to happen that all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you remember all those things that were hidden in the mist? All of a sudden they are here now. Future expansion stuff, I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's always a thing of how far does your potential change philosophy go? How much do you think is possible? In my opinion, I go back to Red Shirt Guy and to his initial first question. Guys, is it like with all the tropic and things on the southern hemisphere of Azeroth? Does that mean that we have a real southern hemisphere we just haven't seen yet of Azeroth still to explore? If you were to think as broadly as Ian, aka Red Shirt Guy, thought back then, it might happen. We might have it happen that with all that stuff going on, and with if you add your elemental changing stuff, it might happen that when we get back up from Nashatar, all of a sudden Azeroth is twice as big because the southern hemisphere has been added. Or I don't know. It depends upon how broad you want to think.
True.
Another thing was with the Low Watch guys in the podcast, they talked about, are we ever going to see the sword removed from Silithus? And we all know that if you get stabbed, it's probably not a good idea to pull the thing out that you've been stabbed with. So, and then one of them brought up an idea: what if they come with something, with a branch of Galadriel, of the mother tree?
Yeah.
And chuck that in the wound next to the sword. And then it grows around the sword and becomes a new world tree or something like that.
That would be interesting.
Something like that. So there are so many things. It just depends upon how you look at it. And if you read it carefully, the line, it says the Ashara fight will change the future of Azeroth, not Azeroth itself.
Yeah, that's true.
Or not necessarily the future, but not necessarily Azeroth itself. So there are, I mean, one might go with the other, hand in hand, so to speak, but it doesn't have to. So yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with all of that.
Oh, there's nothing more fun than having your tinfoil hat on.
Exactly. Now we're going to get a new island anyway, which is Mechagon. I think Frasley pointed at Questat about the gnomes disappearing, and now apparently we know where they're going now, which is a new little island that has the town called Rustbolt, that has been fighting against King Mechagon, and he's building a doomsday device that's great, to turn everyone into robots. Cool. And then of course we have to, get reputation with them, get friendly. I like it that they say that those tasks that you have to do for them is it will change the island and everything that you see, and that I think is always interesting. I always like seeing a game evolve. I think that's why I used to like Civ so much. And
someone said, I can't remember who it was. Someone said it's probably the closest thing. Oh, Mechagon the island is probably going to be the closest thing the game has ever had or will have for some time to a sandbox style play.
And I like that. I think that's something that we really haven't had that much. I mean, the only sort of sandboxy thing we had was our own garrison, but there wasn't too much sandbox in the fact that, okay, you could pick which things you wanted, and that might look a little bit different, but it was still very much, this is it. This seems to be getting a little bit more freedom. I like the whole fact that it's all about robots and engineers, and they're talking about animals. Mechanomes,
as I raised.
Exactly.
If you're listening.
But I like it, because they actually say that some hints are a cat that you can collect and find new color scheme for, a robot spider that becomes a mount if you build it up enough, and a mechano cat mount. All those things that you can build, and I just love it. I'm really, really curious to see how this evolves.
Did you see the wheelie mount?
I did. That is, I don't know, but it reminded me of something.
Yesterday.
I can't remember what it's from, but it reminds me of a movie, and I don't know what it is. But
yeah, now that you, I can't remember either. But yeah, I see it in front of me. I just can't make the connection either.
No, I remember seeing it. I don't think it was. Well, maybe was it Tron? I can't remember. But yeah, I've seen it in a movie somewhere, and I thought it was brilliant. Of course, we'll get a new dungeon with that area. I don't know. I get Old Dwarf vibes and all
Mega dungeon, yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting plenty of things to do, really. And then other things. So we're going to see Magni's story. I still don't know how to feel about Magni, if I'm really truly honest. I don't know. I find it, I don't know. I think he has his own agenda.
I don't know. I really don't know about Magni. He's probably, for me, he's with the overall scheme and what we know about it, let's put it that way, he's probably the greatest mystery of them all. Because, like I said earlier, with Sylvanas, we know that she's got something to do with the dagger. With the alliance, I would leave them out for now. They have to recoup after the raid, and whatever's gonna happen with Derek and with Kalia, we don't want to go into that at all, because that's for 8.3, I would imagine, if that.
Yeah.
But for now, something that comes up now. I think that of everything that we know at the moment, the Magni storyline with Mother and with the Chamber of Heart, or whatever it's called, and the purpose of that thing, and that's for me the greatest mystery of it all.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, for me personally, I've never been into things like everything about the makers, like Titan stuff really has never interested me that much. I find the old gods really interesting. The Titan stuff is just something I'm not really into. So seeing that all with the Heart of Azeroth and the whole, like we had Old Air and Old War, it just didn't really grab me. But it will be interesting to see what they do with all of this, because Magni is like one of the biggest mysteries that we have at the moment in this game. So, the Heart of Azeroth is going to get some changes. I think the whole Azerite gear, like you said, that's going to be completely changed. I don't want to say too much about it, just because it's one of those things that you can talk about it a lot, but you really have to experience it in game. I do find it interesting that they are looking at it more in a way as to customize it as it was with the artifacts that we had in Legion. So I think that's that will make it a lot more interesting to use it. So I'm looking forward to all of that.
Yeah, I talked about it on various podcasts before, and when they announced it, I said, yes, that's exactly what I've wanted from the beginning, because you can't, I don't want to toot my own horn, but that's like something that they should have done in the beginning, because it's the reason for me why they should have done it is that the mechanics of the artifact has worked so well. It wasn't perfect, but altering a basically working method and adapting it to work with Azerite rather than artifact power or whatever, however, going that and scrapping that all together, throwing it in the bin and then starting something completely new wasn't the smartest idea, let's put it that way.
Yeah, it was risky and it just didn't pay off. I think
it backfired, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, I think they see that, and I wouldn't blame them if they would go. They know what works now. They know what players really enjoy. So hopefully in the future we'll just see a system that is much more like that. So other things around gear, we're getting more heritage armor, which is always great. It's one of the reasons why I actually created another Tauren, because I need one. So we're getting gnome heritage armor and Tauren heritage armor, and I think both of them look really cool. I still want my troll heritage armor though.
Tauren, I don't know. Gnomies, yes, perfect, looks awesome. Tauren, yeah.
I like him with the feathers. You can be your own Bane now.
Yeah. It's not my taste. I would have wanted obviously my Forsaken heritage armor. If they, let's just say this much, if they screw up the Forsaken heritage armor the way they screwed up the Tauren one, I'm going to be really, really not amused.
Well, nothing can be as bad as the Void Elves one, so, you know.
Yeah.
I've noticed some people are screaming now, but I really don't like that one. But that's me.
I mean, to be honest, that's the only heritage armor I've unlocked so far. So
I haven't unlocked any yet. I'm rubbish at that. What else? War campaign, of course, is going to continue with big spoiler now. Bane is locked up underneath Orgrimmar. We knew that wasn't going to stay a happy place for Bane. We knew that. And now we have to, as they so ominously say it, his fate and the fate of those who followed him will be revealed in 8.2. I wonder if our friend Sourfang and Zagan will make an appearance on this.
Yeah, we don't know. We'll see.
No, we don't know. So that will be interesting. The war fronts are getting... do you still do war fronts? I do. I'm still running around in war fronts. Do you do them?
I do them from time to time to get the missing stuff that I need. Like I don't do the war fronts itself. I go and kill the rares and do the quests to get the mounts. I still don't have the hyena mount. And I think 2 or 3 toys I'm still missing, but yeah, beyond that, I don't really know. Warfronts don't really do it for me. What I much rather do is go and do Wintergrasp. The new Wintergrasp, the 40-man epic battleground Wintergrasp is, finally we get it back as a valid playground, so to speak, battleground. Yeah.
It will be interesting to see, because we're getting a heroic warfront now, Stormguard, so that will be interesting. And then there's lots of stuff for PvP, island expeditions, which it's, for me, it just feels like just adding to it, so there's a little bit more variation, which I think there's nothing wrong with that. That always works. I miss this sounds so weird, but like in Classic, you had so many variations with dungeons. I kind of missed that. Like, I missed the amount of dungeons that we have. And of course, we're getting lots back now with time walking, but I still don't feel like it's enough for the current expansions all the time. But that's me. I'm a bit spoiled when it comes to that.
The dungeons is one thing that I've always said, Blizzard, if you can go through and just one by one make all the dungeons scalable. It doesn't matter. You just have to do it once. Start at the beginning and then you push one big red button to go with that metaphor.
Yeah.
And you can just choose to go in one big queue. You can have whatever 4 or 5 blacklisted dungeons. If you don't want them, that's perfectly okay. There's still 50 left. I don't know. That would be so awesome that Blizzard could have so much stuff. People would thank them so much, in my opinion. And why do you have to drop out for one? Why do you have to drop out as a level 70 to drop out of the queue for classic dungeons? Why can't you just have it so that you can incorporate the queue for classic or for vanilla and Outlands and Wrath of the Lich King into one queue?
We already get it with time walking anyway.
No, we don't.
Well, no, we scale down. but it's I don't know. You know, that option is there, so why not flip it around?
There is no time walking vanilla. There isn't.
Oh no, not for vanilla. I
No.
would like vanilla though.
Yeah, and you have to go separate queues if you want to go to the time walking. Why not make it one? Even when you quest in the 60 to 70 or 60 to 80 bracket, you cannot queue in one big queue where the where the queues for Outlands and Wrath are combined into one big queue. It doesn't work. You have to choose one or the other. I've tried.
It is a shame. I have I'm having a hope that maybe in the future they will do something with that, because it just feels like such a waste not doing anything with so many dungeons.
Yep.
Because it's really a shame. So something else that is kind of like a waste is our mount collection at the moment that we can't use for flying. Well, have no fear, we're going to get flying. It will be unlocked in Colteras, Zandalar, Mechagon, and Najatar. So it's not like another Argus where you unlock it, but you can't use it. And we'll get a nice mechanical parrot for unlocking flying. Now, of course, this will be Pathfinder Part 2, which means that we will also have to get exalted, no doubt, with the new races that we will meet in Najatar. So that's great.
We get feathers as a mount. Have you done the quest chain?
Yes, I have feathers.
Yeah, and that's it's so fine. Finally, we get to see what happened to them. It's so.
I like it. I really, really like that whole story. If you haven't read Before the Storm, do yourself a favor and read it, because it will make so much more sense.
Yeah.
When you do certain quests. Now, that's not the only thing about mounts. Do you have your Water Strider?
Of course.
Okay, so I got it a few weeks ago because I was sick and tired of swimming anywhere. And now we got the change that you get certain slots, equipment slots for your mounts, and one of those could be water walking, slow fall, and the ability not to be dazed. So they are taking water walking away from the Water Striders. I've already seen many people on my Facebook cry in rage about that. I kind of understand it, but on the other hand, I'm kind of happy that, you know, we get those little water walking shoes for my other mounts.
But on the other hand, like they also said, if you own the water walking, the Water Strider, you can go to the Anglers. I don't know if it's the Anglers or if it's Ned Pagel himself. And you can get a big discount on the water walking shoes there. If so, that's like a I would imagine it's a rep discount. Comes with Exalted.
Do we have to get those? Like, for instance, so you buy the shoes, the water walking shoes. Do you have to buy that per mount, or is it just bought this now? This is now account.
Yes, any of the modifications, which we know there are 3 of at the moment, or we know of 3. There are the that we talked about now, the water walking. Then there are the one that you mentioned, the anti-dazing. And then there is the parachute one, where you can jump off a cliff while mounted and still use a quote-unquote parachute. So those 3 we know of. If there are going to be initially more than those 3, we don't know. Those are the 3 that are commonly referred to. Now, once you equip any of these 3 into, I think Hazel from Hazelnut Games put it in terms of it's like a gem slot at the bottom of your mount list. So if you equip one of these 3 items there, it counts for all your mounts, regardless
nice.
of which of the 3 items you use. But you can only use one at a time.
Well, yeah, otherwise, you know,
Yeah.
that would be a bit much.
Yeah. And if they coincide with a ability that your mount or your class already has, it's obsolete. So with the water walking, that's going to go away from the mount because the special ability. Now with the shaman, you have the spell water walking, so you don't really need the water walking shoes. Same thing with the decay, has a path of frost, so you don't need them either. So there are those synergies that you have to be aware of. There are some that are being taken away because the shaman and the DK have these abilities as a character ability. They can't take them away from the mount because they're not part of the mount ability. Same thing with the Urbing mount, the Sky Golem. The Sky Golem has a special ability to gather herbs while mounted. That's got nothing to do with water walking or dazing or parachuting. So they are going to keep those respective special abilities for the mount. Now, were there to be a similar ability sometime down the line, where it would coincide with any future mount abilities, they would be taken away as well.
I always find it interesting. Like, the weird one for me is always the druid.
Yeah.
Because as a druid, as soon as you touch water, that's it. You become like your swim form. But what if you go in your stag form? I'm just going by the basic one. So the stag form, and you actually are like, no, well, I want to run over the water. Oh wait, I cannot. I have to actually mount up.
Yes. Once you are mounted on a mount, on a real travel form mount, then you would have to put the water walking shoes on for you to be able to walk on water. But why would you really?
Yeah,
the only reason that would make sense for me, right off the top of my head, would be to carry someone across the water.
I would gladly taxi people if that means that my stag can run over water. Yeah. That's the one I'm just, I'm not too happy with. But okay, I play my druid on a rare occasion when I play Alliance. Right, so now all the other rewards, just the little things that they said. So that Mechano wheel mount, which looks awesome. And we're getting a crab mount. I thought the crab mount looked pretty cool. I wonder if it walks sideways.
It does.
That's even better.
It does.
That is really cool.
It's going to be so disorienting for people.
It's going to be like when you have a game and you actually work with a controller and all of a sudden everything is the other way around and you're like, wait, what? How? Yep. It's really confusing.
Yep.
But I like things like that. New pets, new mounts. I think it's really cool. And, there's a few miscellaneous things in there. So new mission table, missions for a mechanic. So that will be interesting to see what they change.
For one, they're gonna add. They have to add a mission table or modify it so your helpers, your whatever they're gonna be called, the guys that help you, that run around with you.
Yeah, your followers.
Yeah, that they can be your they can be geared / leveled, so you can keep track of that.
That's cool. I like that.
it has to happen because you need to be able to keep track of it. And as far as I remember, I think they said we were going to get 3 different ones. So I don't know if there are 3 different as in overall, or if everyone can have 3 and only choose one. So might be that there's a healing one or a tanking one and a DPS one, and you can only choose to recruit one from the 3 from a pool of 3, or you can just recruit all of them and then choose which one you want to have accompany you. Again, we don't know yet, so
that will be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I like those little changes. It makes the game interesting. We get new war mode additions, new professions. In all fairness, I don't do anything with professions, so I've stopped that. And this is the one that I'm quite curious for your opinion. The giant brewfest revamp, including a pretzel hat and eating contest. How do you feel about that?
I couldn't care less.
I think it's interesting. I did like Brewfest. I used to enjoy it when I did that in the past, but I don't think we got those steins anymore, so I was a bit like, I've stopped doing it.
Yeah, sadly it's I'm a northern guy from northern Germany, and the other thing is in Bavaria, so all the way at the other end. So I've never been a person that liked Bavaria very much. Yeah,
you know what? I think that's fair enough. It's a bit like seeing things like it's St. Patrick's Day, and even though it is in Ireland, I always get the feeling that a lot more people in America celebrate it.
No.
And then but that's that. I could be wrong. I know that there are some Irish people listening, so they could put me wrong with that.
I mean, there are for most countries, there is one area, be it state, be it town, city, whatever, that the general rest, I don't want to say dislike, but it's not very fond of. Like in America, it's Texas is kind of has this vibe of and in Denmark it's Copenhagen, in Germany it's Bavaria. There are these things where generally people have this feeling of the people there, they feel they're I don't want to say better than the rest, but I don't know.
It's different.
Yeah. So
it's the same in Holland. The middle and northern part of Holland feels different than the southern part of Holland that's closer to Belgium, just because people pronounce their G different. But I think that's a little bit of history that goes back to when there was a time that the southern part was more Catholic and the northern part was more Protestant, and that's where the big thing is. I think they also like to celebrate Carnival in the southern part, and I, as a northerner, have never really participated in that. I think I did it as a child, when you're really young, and then later on I thought, what is this bollocks? I don't want to do anything like this.
I get candy, okay, I'm totally in.
If it's candy, it's fine. No, it's just dressing up. But that's the thing that apparently in England they love fancy dress. So that's something I had to get used to. But that's, again, as a foreigner, I don't always understand what's going on. So that was 8.2. What's your general feeling about 8.2?
I look forward to it. I look forward to the sandbox thing with Mechagon. I look forward to, like I said, to the wheel mount. Apparently you get the wheel mount once you completed the meta achievement for Mechagon.
Mm-hmm.
much like the bigger bag thing on the Timeless Isle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would imagine that's like a similar achievement. And yeah, there's so many things in this. Something that I couldn't care less about. Again, like I said before, is the war front, the PvP stuff. Ashran, I don't need Ashran to come up in my epic battleground queue. It makes the chances that I get into Wintergrasp be lower, so I don't really need that. If we get more quests with island expeditions, like hints of or snippets of lore by doing quests that we start in island expeditions, sure, give me any day. I'll take that gladly. I totally agree with you. I want to know more about Vathian. Maybe we'll see that towards the end. Something that we haven't heard anything about yet for me is what is going to happen with the heroic war fronts for the next ones. Are we going to see, because for now the people that wanted the heroic war fronts, they said, sure, we're going to get them, but like they say here, it's initially only Stormguard. We are in the next patch now. We had one Warfront at 8.0. We had Stormguard. At 8.1, we had Darkshore. What's the Warfront for 8.2? It's just quote unquote the heroic version for Stormguard. We don't have a new one. That's something that, are they already pulling back on bringing us new ones? Because they feel that they're not as accepted as they would have liked, and just bumping up the difficulty. I don't know. It's something that I've been wondering for the last couple of days, or pretty much since they said with 8.1. Back then they already talked about the fact that we were going to get the war fronts as a heroic version. But they didn't tell us anything about a 8.2 Warfront. So I'm not sure what to make of that lack of information or lack of content. Not that there isn't enough, but it's just something that it's a void that I thought would be filled, but apparently it isn't. So
it might be something that they keep, up their sleeve for maybe 8.3 if we get that. It will be interesting.
Yeah.
It's a good point. But overall, I think, 8.2 is something that hopefully will be something to look forward to. And yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. And I'm very happy that you were there to help out with a few things, because my notes at times, there's so much going on. So it's always, I think, with patch notes, good to talk about another player with what's going on. So thank you so much for joining me.
You're very welcome.
And if people want to follow you, Grand Nagus, where can they find you and the podcasts?
They can find me personally at Grand Nagus 1 on Twitter. they can find the podcast Corpse Run Radio at Corpse Run Radio, and on Twitch, twitch.tv/Corpse Run Radio, and the other podcast at CtrlAltWoW on Twitter. And we record, at the moment we're recording on Mondays live on Twitch, and that's twitch.tv/CtrlAltWoW podcast. All one word. CtrlAltWoW podcast.
And I will make sure that that is also in the show notes. So thank you so much again for being a guest again.
You're very welcome.
So I hope you enjoyed that interview with Grand Nagus and talking all about 8.2. I can't wait for it to be released. So that's something to look forward to. Now, of course, you guys had a lot to say about 8.2, and I asked you what you're looking forward to the most with this new patch. And some of you have some really snarky and sassy comments, so, you know, I like it. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, so let's start. Skull Shorties said, saving Bane from that dastardly war chief. That almost sounds like a Scooby-Doo episode. But no, I agree. I'm looking forward to that as well. Aaron Wilbanks said, unlocking the secrets of the mecha gnomes. I know there's a lot of people who will be very interested with that. Spanky Hunter said, this says it all. And then he posted a little gif of a man riding a plane. And also want to Ronald McDonald flying in a box. I'm going to assume that you're talking about flying and not about, you know, Ronald McDonald. Because clowns, man. Clowns, I can't do it. Jordrans said, I'd say Azurite fix, but Fury is already great, so probably flying. Frasley said a Mechagon and flying. I knew Frasley would be very, very interested in the whole gnomes and Mechagon. Nick Zed said a Bane and the Tauren Heritage armor. I like the Heritage armor. I actually made a baby Tauren again just so I could get one. Because I don't want to race change any of my guys, and yeah, I would like to do a Tauren again. Just not quite sure what class yet. I think probably Tauren Paladin, maybe Warrior? I don't know. Martin Larson said more story. I agree with you. Sai said new zones, and I'm curious to see how the new Hearth of Azeroth works. You and me both. Let's hope it will be interesting. Gnomish Gaming 2.0 said anything to do with gnomes. I'm just gonna be like, and then there was a nice little image there of the sound of music, dancing in the mountains and singing. If you know what? If you want to be just like it in the sound of music, you have my blessing. I think it will be amazing. Please make sure that you tape that for others. Kevbo, the Ever-Working, said flying. And I see that your name is the Ever-Working. I hope that you don't have to work over Easter. That's all I'm saying. Pluma-chan. Now this had me a little bit confused, but that might be, you know, maybe I've missed something. Pluma-chan said more than the Little Mermaid references. I want to know what that means. Do you mean like under the sea, the whole thing with you know, Ashara, and that we're going there? You know, send me a follow-up tweet. Sorry said content. Yep, you know, story content, that's the one for me. If it's just general content, I think there's quite a lot, but you know, if you've done everything, you've been busy. Grand Nagus, just exploring Mechagon, and I can say I'm happy with the first impression. That's good to know. Exclavier said he actually posted an image of David Hasselhoff flying amongst other birds, just, you know, flapping his wings, or his arms pretending to be wings, to which I just said, oh, are we getting, you know, the Hoff as a mount? Because that would be interesting. But I'm going to assume that it's flying he's looking the most forward to. Zappy said Ashara. Steel Socks said the possibility of resubbing if it's impressive enough. You never know. You never know. Awinel said the fact we're getting closer to the next expansion. I think so. You know, there's so much. Some people really love this expansion. Other people really are not happy. But I'm really curious to see where we're going with the next expansion, because it's all, you know, really interesting story for me at this point in time. So I'm wondering where we're going. And finally, Bolfra, the Banished One, said, more story and quests. And that's the big one for me, I have to admit. So I'm really looking forward to that. Other than that, that's it for Twitter. And we're going quite far, so no guild drama today. I have a few more stories that I will keep for the next episodes. It is Easter today, actually, and I'm actually recording, even though my family's here. They are very supportive of the podcast, so I don't expect anyone to listen to this on Easter Sunday. But I do wish that you guys have a lovely weekend, a lovely Easter holidays, if you have some days off. Enjoy it. If you want to play World of Warcraft, do that. If you want to go out and enjoy the sunshine, I would. You know, you have some time off, take advantage of that. And I will all see you again and hear from you next week. And enjoy your time inside and outside of Azeroth. Bye bye.